So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you all my bad trip story. Now, I already talked about this trip in a video I made a little over a year ago, back when the trip initially happened, but I just wanted to go over it again to see what my new takes are on it, and just to give you another example of what this experience was like and, the direction that what you could call bad trips can go in. So this experience took place, like I said, a little over a year ago. So it's going to be a lot of remembering on my part. But it was with a substance known as MDA, or methylenedioxyamphetamine, which is the precursor to a drug known as MDMA, or Molly, which many of you might be more familiar with. So, as you know, MDMA is not very psychedelic, but what I took, the precursor to MDA, is more serotonergically active, meaning it creates more of a psychedelic-like effect. So I'm not really going to get into the science of what MDA is in comparison to MDMA. I just wanted to share what it was that I actually took. So this was during a period of my life, which is kind of a short period, where I was trying out these different substances, mainly dissociatives and entactogens, which is what MDA is. Because I was trying to find something that was more like what I thought at the time, my speed, compared to things like LSD and DMT and mushrooms, which were just a whole lot on my plate. Every time I did them, it was just a lot to work with. It what you'd call intense. And I was looking for something that was, like I said, a little more workable, a little more easy on me, I guess you could say. I tried things like ketamine, nitrous oxide, and this MDA. And prior to this bad trip, I had tried the MDA, I think, 3 other times, maybe 2 other times. I had tried it with my brother. I went over to my friend's house and tried it, and then I think it was the 3rd time that I took it that this experience took place. So it was an evening, and I was hanging out with my brother, and he decided he was going to take some with me. And I had 2 capsules, 2 little gelatin capsules, loaded up with an unmeasured amount of MDA. Now, since I had taken it before, I had kind of figured out, okay, that much feels like that much feels like that, and I kind of wanted to up the scale a little bit, because I had a couple experiences with it, and it was pretty enjoyable. It was like just an enhancement of my senses and my feelings of, deepness and connectedness and interest and creativity and all those things. And it was kind of like a little miniature trip in a way. A miniature, like, acid trip, minus the distorting thoughts and distorting visual perceptions. But needless to say, I wanted to do a little more this time. And this would be my brother's first time ever trying this stuff. He wasn't really into the experimenting with different stuff like I was. But he just figured that night, why not? Let's try this stuff out with my brother. So we opened up the capsules, and he just ate his capsule. He just ate it. I poured my powder out onto my hand, and it came as these little rocks that you had to crush up. And there was a pile of powder and 1 rock in there that hadn't been fully crushed up. And I moved that off to the side because I didn't want to take it, because I, felt like that might be a little too much type thing. So I moved the rock out of the pile and put the pile of powder in my mouth. And my brother's like, "What are you doing? Why are you limiting yourself? Come on, just go all out." Gave me that, like, you got this vibe. Let's see how far we can go type thing. Which probably wasn't the best choice on my part, but I took that rock that I took out initially and plopped it in my mouth and crunched it up. I literally chewed up a rock of this MDA. And that was probably at least a quarter more of a dose than what the pile of powder I had initially eaten. So we took our capsules. We have taken our MDA, and now we're just chilling. And this stuff was it was familiar. It was familiar because it was a serotonergic drug, and me and my brother were used to taking serotonergic drugs, which are psychedelics. The effects would come on in like 30 to 40 minutes and slowly enhance for the next 2.5, 3 hours until you're like in this like climax zone where everything is ecstatic, and then it would slowly settle back down. And it was a familiar roller coaster ride to, say, mushrooms or LSD or something like that. So we're just waiting for it to hit, hanging out, waiting for it to slowly begin. I was getting pretty excited because, like I said, my brother had never done this, and this would be our first roll together, you know what I mean? And I was just getting introduced to the roller world type thing, you know. What rolling is what you call taking things like MDA or MDMA. It's what people do at raves and stuff like that. And I was just getting into that whole scene, you know what I mean? So I was pretty excited. And I'd say like 10, 15, 20 minutes in, I started feeling really hot. I started feeling very warm inside. Wasn't sweating. I wasn't sweating quite yet. But I felt like I was like really hot. I felt like I was burning up on the inside. And I took my shirt off and I went and sat by the window. The window was open and I was like hanging my head out the window. And my brother was like, "Wow, it's already kicking in for you. You're already heating up." And this hadn't really happened to me before, but I figured, okay, I took a bigger dose. It's gonna come on stronger. Anyways, this feeling of heating up just continues to build. It just continues to build in my body to the point where I'm sitting on the bed and I have a window fan. I'm holding a window fan in front of my face and my body. And I'm just like, holy shit, dude, I'm so like, I'm burning up right now. I feel really hot. And I was just kind of, ignoring that. I didn't really think much of it at first, and my brother wasn't feeling hot or anything, so I was still chilling. And I don't really know the time range on this, but it seemed way too soon in taking it, because all of a sudden I felt like I was higher than I had ever been on anything. Like, it was like in the flip of a switch. My entire visual field was completely blurry and like doubling up, like kind of like alcohol, but I could look at it. It was more like I could focus on it, and everything was blurry and doubling up and just this blurry mess. And I felt like I was like in a dream. I all of a sudden felt like I was like completely dissociated. Like my mind did not feel normal anymore. And I remember saying out loud, I said, I'm coming up harder on this than I have on anything ever, is what I said. And my brother, he wasn't really feeling anything. So this whole portrayal of me being off the charts high was a little weird to him. And it was weird to me as well, because I damn well felt gone. Like, just very, very, what you'd call messed up, So at that point, I was starting to get a little weirded out. With how this drug was kicking in. I was very hot. I was very hot. My vision was completely blurry, and I could only see something clearly if I stared at it, and if there was any sense of movement, it was all just this wishy-washy, blurry field. And I remember saying to my brother, he's like, dude, are you okay? Like, because throughout this period of getting really hot and all of a sudden being like disconnected from reality because of how seemingly high I felt, I was moving all around. It was like I was like trying to get rid of the energy that was building in my body, and I was doing all these weird movements. I was like writhing around the room like this. I was rubbing my own skin. I looked like I was coming inside out of myself, you know what I mean? And my brother was starting to get a little weirded out by this. And he says, dude, are you okay? Like, is everything all set? And I say to him, I'm just hot. I'm just really hot. And I kept saying that. I kept saying that to him. I'm just really hot. I'm just sweating, bro. And he told me that when I was saying this, I wasn't sweating at all. But within probably a minute to 2 minutes of me saying to him over and over, I'm just hot, I'm just sweating, he said he looked at me, and all of a sudden my whole body was drenched in sweat. Every inch, every pore of my body was covered in wet sweat. And he started to think, like, what the fuck is he going through? You know what I mean? Like, he was beginning to get a little standoffish. And I was beginning to get scared. I was beginning to get worried that what was going on, this is in my mind, what is going on to me is I am overdosing right now. I took too much of this drug. I know that one of the main effects of taking too much is overheating. I know about serotonin syndrome. I know how potent this drug is, how potent he told me it is. The guy I had got it from had told me, only take a little bit, bro. This stuff's strong, be careful. And I went and just ate up a rock of it like it was all fun and games, and now I'm overdosing. Now I'm dying. I'm going to die from taking too much of this substance. This began floating through my mind, and it took a moment to lock in to what I thought reality was. But I began getting very, very frightened. I began getting very inward. I wasn't keeping in touch with my surroundings, aka my brother. He was saying things to me, and apparently what I was doing was just like my eyes were rolled into the back of my head, and I'm saying, I'm just sweating, bro. I'm just sweating, bro. I'm just hot. It's all good. I'm just sweating, bro. But on the inside, I was dying. So like I said, this was all like flowing through my mind at first as just like a passing idea, like, oh, you might have done it this time. You know what I mean? But I'd say after like 20 minutes of dealing with this heat and this just intense disconnection, it started to feel like it was my reality, that I was dying, that I had taken too much of this thing, and this is it for me. I'm going to die tonight because I was playing around trying to have fun, you know, and now things got serious. My physiological body can't handle this, and I'm just going to plop dead. And I started to really get frightened. I don't know what prompted this, and as more time goes on, I continue to wonder what made me do this, but I started touching my brother's legs. I started like slowly reaching out and like caressing his legs like that. And he looked at me and he's like, what? He pulled away and he's like, "What are you doing, bro?" And I don't remember exactly what it was that I said, but the only sense of understanding I have as to why I did that was because in that moment, I was dying. And that was my only way to say, like, goodbye to my brother. Was like, it was like an I love you. I love you, bro. This is it. I'll see you later, And he took it as like, because he wasn't in the level of fear and horror that I was, he took it as like a homosexual type thing. Like I was like coming on to him. But in where I was saying goodbye. I was saying, I love you, bro. This is it. Your brother's, this is it. You know what I mean? And he ended up getting so uncomfortable with how I was acting that he got up and went downstairs. And might I add, my grandfather was downstairs, and he would rather be hanging out with my grandfather, high on MDA, than with me, who is freaking out, the one who gave him this stuff. So, to sum up the image that's going on here, it's about 40 minutes in, probably. I am dripping in sweat, shirtless, not talking to my brother, just saying things, eyes rolled into the back of my head, and I'm flailing around the room. I'm moving around the room, doing all this weird, like, fucking shaman ritual dancing, crazy shit. And like I said, the only reason I can think as to why I did that was to try and relieve this sense of heat and energy that I was experiencing. You can see me doing it now, all that movement, and it's because it's such a fucking burnt-in memory of what I was doing. I was trying to, like, release everything, release all the energy, and I thought I was dying. I thought it was only a matter of minutes before my insides cook and I go unconscious and stop breathing and I'm dead. You know what I mean? I didn't want to call the ambulance. Didn't want to fucking call the ambulance because I didn't want that. I didn't want that whole cliche bullshit. Oh, got high on a drug. He's freaking out. Has to call the ambulance. Another one of these guys. No. Like I said, I was at my grandfather's house and I was, I thought I was dead. I thought I was going to die. And my brother, like I said, he went downstairs because he was just very weirded out by me. And I don't blame him whatsoever. I was acting completely bewildered, completely crazy. I couldn't even speak English to him. I couldn't even make sentences. I was just like trapped. I was gone, lost in this inner world of fear and denial and regret. And oh my gosh, I threw my life away. I'm dead, dude. What do I do? What do I do to get out of this? Because what I thought I was doing was accepting my fate. What I'm doing right now is the best thing I can do to keep calm while I'm dying. Because I knew I was dying. I'm gonna die. This is it. What now? I've thrown it all away to have fun on this fucking drug. Now what do I do? You know what I mean? My brother goes downstairs, and I remember in one little split scene, I tried putting my shirt back on and just calm down. To just calm down and stop doing all this fucking weird stuff. And I tried to sit down in the chair and stop moving. Like, just chill out, dude. And I remember I shot up out of the chair. I ripped my shirt off. And did one more little weird writhing dance move. And then ran into the bathroom to go take a cold shower. Like, that was it. It's going to cool my system down. I'm going to stop freaking out, and I'm not going to die if I go take a cold shower. And I run to the bathroom, and I turn the faucet on, and the water is pouring down into the bath. And I'll never forget it. It was like a internal voice, or like a second voice, or like a background knowing. It said, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" It said, "What are you doing?" Like, and it embodied in that "what are you doing" was, get it to fucking together, dude. You are losing your grip right now. Your grandfather's downstairs. Your brother's worried as fuck about you. Chill out. You're taking it a little too far. Things are getting a little too boundaryless. Something came over me. I shut the water off, and I stood up, walked back into my brother's room, and I sat down in the chair. And, still thinking, I'm gonna die, this is it. But just wanting to fucking be not freaking out. Because I was so, filled with fear. The most fear I've ever felt in my entire life. And I sit down in this chair, and all of a sudden, in the middle of my stomach, releases the most intense, warm, loving wave of euphoria I have ever felt. I imagined at the time to be what, heroin addicts get addicted to, is that it was just this permeating warmth of complete, it was like an itchy goodness feeling, and it felt so warm and so good and so tingly, and it grew through my whole chest, and I literally went into a trance from how good I felt all of a sudden. And I thought to myself how crazy the spectrum of events that just happened were, that I sat down in that chair completely fucking freaking out, like I need to do something, I need to calm down. And now all of a sudden I'm lost in ecstasy and how good I feel. So I was really like, what the fuck is going on, dude? I'm losing it. I need to get a grip. I need to chill out, pay attention to what the fuck I'm doing, what I'm saying, what I'm thinking. And this euphoria just filled my body. And I assumed that to be, this is interesting because me and my brother have two different takes on what this was. I took that on what we thought the euphoria was. I took the euphoria to be the peak of the drug. The drug peaked at that moment that I sat down and released this massive wave of euphoria. My brother has this interesting take that was my physiological body fighting against my mindset. It was trying to calm me down. My body was trying to calm me down because I was getting it so worked up with what I was thinking and doing. You know what I mean? Thank God I didn't. But I bet you if I had felt my heartbeat during that period, it would have been going very fast. And that would have just drove me even crazier into a I'm dying, mindset. But no, I thought that was interesting that my brother thought that wave of euphoria that I felt was my body helping me, fighting against my negative, horrifying mindset. My brother ended up coming back up at some point, back upstairs to his room. And from that period on, when he came back upstairs, I was no longer... I didn't think I was going to die, because it felt like the intensity was coming down, right? I knew I wasn't going to die, but I felt very different. I felt very different. I felt scared. I felt vulnerable. I felt like in shock at what had just happened to me. Didn't sleep at all. I remember when I was coming to, I took a picture of myself around 3 in the morning, and I think I'm going to make this the thumbnail. But that picture at 3 in the morning was right after that episode. Oops, hold on, let me put that blanket back up. That picture I took was right as I was coming back down to fucking reality and, actually chilling out and getting a grip and like, holy crap, I just had a bad trip. I just freaked the fuck out. And we thought all the rest of that night, or should I say morning, talking about what had just happened to me, because my brother was, he took it too. Not to mention, he took it too. His pupils were dilated. He was feeling it. His jaw was tight. He was all fucking rolling, you know what I'm saying? But this was a new feeling to him, and he said he became very quickly familiarized with the feeling, and he said it was nothing compared to what he had experienced with psychedelics, and it seemed like child's play. This seems like child's play, Devin. This isn't my kind of drug, he was telling me. And I came to the conclusion, I threw out the rest of my MDA. Like a gram of MDA that I spent like $100 on. Threw it right in the trash. Sorry, completely uninterested in that now. And it was the classic blame the compound, not yourself type scenario. But yeah, man, that next morning and the following 2 weeks, and even up until this very moment, I've experienced after effects from it. Not like stuck in a trip type stuff, but mental, emotional, impacts, where that experience showed me how powerful my mind is. That experience showed me how the danger of being suggestible by what your mind is saying is what I learned that night. I believed I was dying because my mind told me I was. My inner dialogue was putting up red flags. You're dying, dude. You're dead. You're dying. You are not going to make it through this. What are you going to do? And I believed it. And that has been one of the biggest impacts of that experience, is realizing how powerful the mind is and how devilish it can be at times, just in the hopes of understanding what's going on. You're dying. That's what's going on. As if it knew what was happening and tried to structuralize it. And I believed it, and my entire system, mental and physical, I was so scared. I was so terrified. Like I said, the most fear I have ever felt. Ever since. And that was really when I stopped messing with all these chemicals, messing with even psychedelics, and not in the sense of not doing them, but it made me look at them like, okay, I am putting my mind on the line here when I do these things. Where I can get myself just from being my ignorant own mind while on these chemicals is dangerous enough. So I need to hone in on this before I keep going out into these crazy realms of detached consciousness. And it made me fear tripping again for a while. And to this point, when I think about tripping and what I fear in regards to that, you know what it is? You know what I fear in regards to tripping? Getting that scared again. Getting as scared as I did that night. Because how scared I got that night blew my fucking mind. It blew my mind how terrified I was able to be. And this is one of the things people say about these. And it wasn't even a psychedelic, which is interesting. Because that was the worst fucking experience I've ever had. And it wasn't even a traditional psychedelic. I've had challenging times on psychedelics, but nothing like that where I thought I was dying and, my body, the level of uncomfortability was just palpable. It was driving me mad how scared and overheated and uncomfortable I was that night. And, I've said it already, but it had a really intense impact on me. Somebody recently commented on my video that they were looking forward to some psychedelic content on my channel. And I feel I should say that, I'm not tripping often right now. And I'm most certainly not going to take psychedelics just to make psychedelic content on YouTube, which I'm pretty sure some people do. Feel obligated to do psychedelics so they can jump right on another trip report. But I have tripped since this experience with LSD and DMT. And the experiences of psychedelics seem so much different than what I had that night with MDA. That night seemed like a one of a kind type thing. And I don't regret the experience I went through. I'm under the impression I was meant to go through that. I had to go through that. I needed to be put in my place to be shown the potential of consciousness, the potential of ego and believing what you're thinking. That's a delusion. That's a delusion. That's what a delusion is, my friends. So I don't want the video to cut off on me again. And I feel I've gone over it pretty thoroughly. I just want you all to know that yes, this experience heavily impacted my life, and it's still something I feel I'm working through. Over a year later, I still feel the sense of, what if you get as scared as you did that night? What if this is what makes you freak out again? Just taunting myself. So it's still there in my mind, and that just shows you how impactful. I was gonna say traumatic, but I'd rather say how impactful these things can be. So yeah, I really feel that's it for this video. My bad trip with MDA. And I just want to say again, I don't think it was a bad trip. I mean, the experience is what you'd call the feeling of it is what you'd call bad, or just the sequence of events was what you'd call a bad trip. But I learned substantially from that experience, and I honor that experience, and I'm very grateful for that experience. And me and my brother feel closer because of that experience. It was a bonding experience between us. So, again, thank you all for watching this video, and I will be back with more.